God's wife has on her forehead New Jerusalem. Oh, now I'm understanding. There is a people that will have the name New Jerusalem. And who are they? They have the name of the Father as well. And where did we read is there anywhere in Revelation that talks about a people that have the name of God written on their foreheads? Revelation, what? 7 and 14. They're called 144,000. And they have the name of the Father written on their foreheads. Now, this is interesting here. The only group of people that have the name of the Father also have the name New Jerusalem. And you say, come on, David. It's not just 144,000. I mean, the whole church. Jesus is coming for his whole church. And so I started looking in the spirit of prophecy. I mean, there must be something in there about it. And I found a lot of interesting things. I found that in early writings, page 19 and 20, there is a group of people walking along, and suddenly Jesus comes to the temple, and he raises his lovely voice, and he says, only the 144,000 may enter this place. Correct? You remember that? So, in the temple, only the 144,000 can enter. And here's a group that overcomes, and they're the ones that live in the temple. They're permanent fixtures there. They don't have to leave. When you go to somebody's house, they say, good night, see you tomorrow. But when you live there, you don't have to leave, do you? You don't have to leave in it anymore. And there's a group of people that actually live in the temple, and only the 144,000 can go into the temple. We are told through the spirit of prophecy. And this verifies. This is exactly what it says. There's a group of people that have the name of the Father, New Jerusalem, and the name of the Son. And by the way, when you get married, you give... I didn't talk about this last night, did I? Okay. I told many different churches, I don't remember. And so there's this group of people that actually live in the temple, and they have the name New Jerusalem on their forehead, and they have the name of the Father, and it happens to be the 144,000. Now, let me ask you a question. When you get married, wives, do you take the name of your husband? Silence. What is this? At least in Australia you do, right? There's some places like South America that you keep your old name and you just suddenly belong to somebody. So it's Rebecca Gates, Rebecca Dirksen of Gates. But in America, when she got married to me, she is now no longer Rebecca Dirksen. She's Rebecca Gates. So she took the name. By the way, she took the name of my father too. He's also a Gates. Huh? So the name of the Father, the name of the Son, and in this case, the name New Jerusalem, which is a symbol of the bride. And so all of a sudden I begin to... By the way, it's the bride that lives with the husband at home, right? Everybody else kind of has to go back home. Correct? You know, I performed a wedding in Colombia last Sunday, 2 of our volunteers. And when I married them, I did not pronounce them husband and brides. It was husband and wife. I didn't marry the husband, but to one single lady. And God, by the way, God is not a polygamist. Jesus only has one wife. Well, you say, well, all the churches, they're all... Excuse me? There's only one church that Jesus marries. One people. Well, I'm married to this people, and this people, and this people, and this... No. He's not a polygamist. He only has one wife. And I would like to suggest to you a new idea. It's not a new idea, but maybe you haven't thought about it. Could it be that Jesus has a wife and it carries his name, and it's not everybody? It's not the great multitude. There's only one group of people that actually carry the name of the Father and the Son and the New Jerusalem on their forehead. And more spirit of prophecy evidence. I believe I have it here. Let me see, from the Great Controversy. Here it says, around page 427, it said, he carried me away in the Spirit, said the prophet, and showed me the great city, the holy Jerusalem, descending out of heaven from God. Clearly then the bride represents the holy city, and the virgins that go out to meet him, that's all the church, meet the bridegroom, are a symbol of the church. in the Revelation, the people of God are said to be the guests at the marriage supper. If they are guests, they cannot be also represented as the bride of Christ. Excuse me, that's true today? If you're a guest, you cannot be the bride, right? You either are the bride and you invite everybody, or you're the guest who got invited. And so therefore, we know that we are to go out into the highways and to the byways and invite everybody to come in to the wedding marriage supper of the Lamb. Is that true? But who does the invitation? The bride. Could it be that there is a bride and there is some guests? I believe, and if you read through and you look at the evidence, I believe that the Bible supports that the 144,000 are the bride of Christ. They live at home in His house. They're the only ones that are allowed into His house. They have His name. Nobody else has His name. And they do the invitations. They do the inviting. And everybody else are the guests. And they come to the wedding feast of the Lamb. And they rejoice because the bride is married, the Lamb is married to His bride. And they're the guests. And they get to be there for eternity to enjoy and come to the wedding feast of the Lamb. I think it's a beautiful. The reason it's extra beautiful for us is because we happen to be part of the people that keep the commandments of God and have the testimonies of Jesus. You have been invited to be part of the bride of Christ. It's a special privilege. Very, very high privilege. By the way, everywhere Jesus goes in eternity, He always carries His bride with Him. Did you know that? Revelation 14 says, and they followed the Lamb everywhere He goes. He doesn't take all the great multitude with Him. Excuse me, Jesus is going to planet X. Everybody empty their planet Earth. You have to go with Him. No. There'll be people out in their fields. There'll be people cultivating, people doing things, and they meet with Him. They meet in the New Jerusalem every Sabbath, and they worship God. But when the bride goes to another planet, the only people that go with Him, unless you wanted to go too, but He always takes His bride with Him. Never again in eternity will He be separated from His bride. Everywhere Jesus goes, planet X has been preparing for 1,000 years. Suddenly the Creator's coming. There is the cloud. The angels lying away. There is He sitting on His... Whoa, who's with Him? Oh, that's His bride. Isn't that a beautiful scene? You can be part. It is your job to follow the Lamb everywhere He goes, beginning now. It is your job to become so identified with Christ and His principles that His name can be written on your forehead. It is your job to depend on Him for your sustenance and life, your being, and to carry out the task that He has given you. It is your responsibility, your invitation, to be so identified in everything you do and think and say that His mission is your mission. His name is your name. And you live in the temple with them. Now, it's beautiful when you see that Revelation 7 talks about a group of people that came through the great tribulation and washed their robes in the blood of the Lamb. It's beautiful. You want to turn with me to Revelation 7 and pick a couple little jewels out there real fast? Or are you ready to go home? A couple more minutes, is that okay? Okay. Now last night we talked about the seals, and all of a sudden, after God, Satan, God, Satan, God, it ends with God and His second coming. And all of a sudden, chapter 7 interrupts that seal, and we talk about, and we do repetition and repeat and expand. And then we talk about in chapter 7 the sealing of the 144,000. And then in verse 9, we talk about, I beheld, and lo, a great multitude which no man could number, of all the nations, kindreds, tongues, and peoples. They stood before the throne, clothed with white robes and palms in their hands. Now, the focus came off of the 144,000, and now we're focused on all the guests. You understanding? Okay? The focus was on the sealing of the bride. Then we go to the guests that are invited. The bride, is sealed, goes out, and there's a loud cry. And everywhere you go, You say, come to the wedding feast, come to the wedding feast. Do not get the mark of the beast. Do not obey do not participate in the plagues that were prepared for the beast.